The last thing you expect to see at your own housewarming party is a 6-foot-tall vision board detailing your wife's 5-year plan, especially when your face has been meticulously cut out of every picture and replaced with a smirking, professionally photographed headshot of some male model. No, I'm not kidding. There I was, standing in the living room of the house I was paying for, surrounded by 60 of our friends and my own boss, staring at this masterpiece of betrayal. And my wife, Chloe, was standing next to it with a pointer stick, beaming like she'd just cured cancer. She tapped a picture of a mansion in the Hollywood Hills and said, "And this is the upgrade. Manifesting a life without financial burdens or creative differences." The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, and all I could think was, "Oh, you want to manifest something? Let's manifest the truth." But to understand how we got here, how my life turned into a live-stream train wreck, we need to go back about a year. Let me set the scene for you. My name is Mark. I'm 32. I'm a senior software developer. I work from home, which sounds chill, but it's a solid 50, sometimes 60-hour-a-week gig. It's stressful, but it pays well. I'm a pretty simple guy. I like my job. I like building ridiculously complex model ships in my spare time, and I thought I liked my wife. Chloe, my wife of 4 years, well, Chloe was an aesthetic. That's the best way to describe her. When we met, she was working part-time as a receptionist, but her real passion was becoming a lifestyle influencer. About a year before the vision board incident, she came to me with this big, teary-eyed speech. She said her job was crushing her soul, and she couldn't possibly build her personal brand while being tied to a desk. She wanted to be a full-time homemaker and content creator. Her pitch was solid, I'll give her that. She talked about amazing home-cooked meals, a perfectly clean house, and how she'd have all this energy to support me and my demanding career. I'm a fixer. I see a problem. I want to solve it. My wife is unhappy. Let's fix it. So I agreed. I told her, "Okay, honey, let's do it. Chase your dream. I can cover us." I was picturing this domestic paradise, Teamwork. Man, was I an idiot. The first few weeks were okay. The house was a little cleaner, and she made dinner a couple of times. She bought a vlogging camera and spent most of her days talking to it. But then, things started to slide. The homemaking part of her new job title seemed to be purely decorative. She wasn't cleaning, she was curating spaces. This meant she'd buy a $300 vase, spend 2 hours arranging 3 twigs in it, take 100 pictures for Instagram, and then leave the overflowing trash can for me to take out. Her content creation involved trying on outfits she'd bought with my credit card and then leaving them in a pile on the bedroom floor. The new normal became this. I'd work a 10-hour day in my home office, my brain completely fried. I'd walk out at 6 p.m., and the house would be a disaster zone. Dishes from her avocado toast brunch shoot piled in the sink, Amazon boxes everywhere, and Chloe would be lying on the couch, exhausted. Utterly spent. From what? From applying a filter to a photo of a latte. And she'd look up at me with those big, sad eyes and say, "Babe, I am just so drained. The algorithm is a beast. What are you thinking for dinner?" "What am I thinking for dinner?" became the unofficial slogan of our marriage. I was working full-time, paying for literally everything, and then coming out to cook dinner, do the dishes, and clean up the mess from her workday. But I put up with it. I told myself it was a transition period. She was just finding her footing. I'm not the kind of guy who likes confrontation, so I'd just sigh, put on some music, and clean the damn kitchen. The seeds of resentment were being planted, little, tiny seeds. But boy, were they getting watered daily. The first real crack in my patience, the inciting incident if you will, happened on a Monday. I'd just pulled a 72-hour marathon coding session for a massive project launch. I barely slept from Friday to Sunday. I was living on coffee and adrenaline. On Monday morning, I finally pushed the code. It worked, and I felt like I could sleep for a week. I stumbled out of my office, a zombie in a bathrobe, dreaming of my pillow. The kitchen was a war zone. It looked like a fraternity had thrown a party. There were empty wine bottles, cheese boards with dried-up brie, dirty plates, and glasses everywhere. Apparently, Chloe had hosted a Sunday self-care brunch for her influencer friends. I looked at the mountain of dishes in the sink, then at the overflowing trash that was starting to smell. And on top of the pile was a little pink sticky note. It read, "Hubby, don't forget to take this out before you go to bed. XOXO." It was 8 a.m. on Monday morning. I hadn't been to bed. I was running on fumes, my eyes felt like sandpaper, and this little pink note just broke something in me. It wasn't a request. It was an expectation, an order, like I was the help. I walked into the bedroom. Chloe was still wrapped in our duvet, peacefully sleeping in until 10, as she usually did. I just stood there for a full minute, listening to her breathe, and for the first time, I didn't feel love. I felt this cold, hard stone of anger in my gut. That was the day the quiet, accommodating Mark started to die. After the brunch apocalypse, things started escalating. It was like she sensed I was pulling back, so she doubled down on the entitlement. This is when the list started. I'd come out of my office, and there would be a long, itemized list on the fridge, written on fancy stationery under the heading, Household Action Items. It would be things like, asterisk unload dishwasher. It's full of your coffee mugs. Asterisk clean shower drain. It's full of my hair, but you're the man. Asterisk mow the lawn. The neighbors are starting to judge us. Asterisk go grocery shopping. I made a list, but get the organic kale, not the peasant kale. It was the little passive-aggressive comments that killed me. She wasn't just asking me to do things. She was framing it as me fixing my own mess or fulfilling my manly duties. I tried to talk to her about it. I sat her down one night and said, Chloe, we need to talk about the division of labor here. I'm working more than full-time to support us, and I'm also doing the vast majority of the chores. Your job was supposed to be managing the household. Tears. Instant, dramatic, well-rehearsed tears. I don't know why you're attacking me, she sobbed. Do you have any idea how much emotional labor goes into being a content creator? It's a 24/7 job. I never get to clock out. I can't believe you don't appreciate all I do to build our future. The conversation went nowhere. An hour later, her mom, Brenda, called me. Brenda was the ultimate enabler. In her eyes, Chloe was a delicate princess who should never have to lift a finger. Mark, she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. Chloe is in tears. I don't understand why you're being so cruel to her. She is working so hard on her little internet business for you, for your family. A real man would be proud to take care of the heavy lifting at home to support his wife's dreams. I was speechless. I was being gaslit by a tag team. After that, I just gave up trying to reason with them. I just did the work, my resentment simmering like a pot on low heat. Then came the money incident. I got a significant bonus at work, $20,000. I was ecstatic. I told Chloe, this is amazing. We can finally pay off a huge chunk of the mortgage and get ahead. Her face fell. Oh, she said. Well, I was actually thinking, there's this Chanel bag. It's a classic flap bag. It's an investment piece, really. All the top-tier influencers have one. It shows brands that you're serious. An investment piece? Chloe, it's a purse. How much is it? She mumbled the price. $8,000. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Absolutely not, I said. We are not spending $8,000 on a purse when we have a mortgage. That's insane. We had the biggest fight of our marriage. She accused me of sabotaging her career, of not believing in her, of being a financial gatekeeper. I stood my ground. For the first time, I put my foot down and said no. 2 days later, I got a notification from our joint credit card. A charge for $8,245 from Chanel. I went ballistic. I confronted her, and she didn't even look guilty. She was posing with the bag in front of a mirror. Babe, you have to think of it as a business expense, she said breezily. This bag will open doors for me. It'll pay for itself in brand deals, you'll see. I felt like I was losing my mind. I was living with a complete stranger who had zero respect for me, our finances, or our shared goals. The pot of resentment was starting to boil. But the breaking point, the thing that pushed me over the edge, the straw that didn't just break the camel's back, but vaporized it, was about my ships. My model ships. It's my one hobby. My zen. I spend months, sometimes years, on a single model. It requires patience, precision, and focus. It's the only thing that calms my mind after a long week of coding. For the past year, I had been working on a massive, incredibly detailed replica of the HMS Victory. Hundreds of tiny cannons, intricate rigging, hand-painted details. It was my magnum opus. It lived on a special table in the corner of the living room where the light was good. I came out of my office on a Friday afternoon, ready for the weekend. I was going to finish the final rigging on the Victory. I walked into the living room, and my blood ran cold. The table was gone. In its place was a white backdrop and professional lighting. My ship, my beautiful, intricate ship, was on the floor, in 100 pieces. It looked like it had been dropped from a 10-story building. Chloe was in the middle of the room, directing her friend who was holding a camera. They were doing a photo shoot for a sponsored post about some stupid subscription box. She saw me and her eyes widened. "Oh my God, Mark," she said, rushing over. "I am so sorry. I needed the table for this shoot. The lighting was just perfect here. I tried to move the ship, but it was so fragile. It just fell." The apology was as flimsy as a paper boat. She wasn't looking at me with remorse. She was looking at me with annoyance, like I was interrupting her very important work. My year-long project, my sanctuary, was collateral damage for an Instagram ad. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I felt a weird, terrifying calm wash over me. I looked at the wreckage of my ship, then I looked at her, and I saw everything with perfect clarity. She didn't just not respect me. She didn't even see me. I was just a utility, a provider, an obstacle to be moved when he was in the way of her perfect shot. I just nodded slowly. "Okay," I said, my voice eerily flat. "Okay, Chloe." I went back into my office and closed the door, and I started to plan. The final nail in the coffin of my marriage came a week later. We were planning a housewarming party for the new house we'd bought 6 months prior. I'd bought. The down payment was from my savings, the mortgage was in my name, based on my income. Chloe called it our house, but it was my financial burden. She was in charge of the party planning, which she treated like the Met Gala. I was just supposed to pay for it all. One evening, I was heading to the kitchen for a drink when I heard her on the phone in the guest room, talking to her mother, Brenda. She was speaking in a loud, giddy whisper, so I stopped to listen. "No, Mom, it's going to be hilarious," Chloe was saying, giggling. "I'm making this huge vision board for the party. Like a 5-year plan. I'm putting a picture of a mansion, a G-Wagon, first-class flights to Dubai, and I cut out Mark's face from our wedding photos and pasted in that model. You know, the one from the cologne ad? It's to show everyone what I'm really manifesting. An upgrade." Brenda laughed on the other end of the line. I could hear her tinny voice through the phone. "Oh, that's brilliant, sweetie. A little public motivation for him to work harder." "Exactly," Chloe chirped. "He's been such a drag lately, complaining about chores. This will be a funny, lighthearted way to remind him what he needs to provide for me. He's a good workhorse, but he needs to see the big picture. My big picture. Workhorse. That's what she called me. A workhorse." At that moment, it wasn't even anger I felt. It was this cold, hollow feeling in my chest. The last embers of love I had for her were extinguished, leaving nothing but ice. They thought it was a joke, a lighthearted reminder. They had no idea what was coming, so I played along. For the next 2 weeks, I was the perfect husband. I helped with party prep. I praised her vision board idea. "Wow, honey, that sounds so creative and inspiring," I said, looking at the monstrosity as she assembled it in the garage. She bought it hook, line, and sinker. She thought I was finally getting on board with her brand. Meanwhile, I was busy. I spent hours in my office, not just working my job, but preparing my own little presentation. I compiled financial records. I went through credit card statements. I even set up a program to analyze the data from our smart home devices, the motion sensors, the door locks. And I found the audio recording from our doorbell camera from the day she and her friend accidentally broke my ship. It had picked up their entire conversation from the front porch as her friend was leaving. The party arrived. Our house was packed. My friends, her friends, our families, even my boss and a few colleagues were there. Chloe was in her element, flitting around in a dress that probably cost more than my first car. I just smiled, made small talk, and waited. Around 9 p.m., Chloe clinked a champagne glass. "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" The room quieted down. "I have a little something I want to share with you all. It's a little project I've been working on to really visualize and manifest the future I deserve." With a flourish, 2 of her friends unveiled the 6-foot vision board. There it was, in all its horrifying glory. The mansion, the private jet, the designer clothes. And right in the middle, a picture from our wedding, but with my head expertly replaced by Chris Hemsworth's. A few people tittered nervously. Most just stared, confused and uncomfortable. My own mother looked like she was about to have a stroke. Chloe, completely oblivious, grabbed a pointer. "As you can see," she began, "I'm manifesting a serious upgrade in our lifestyle. More travel, less budgeting, and a partner who is fully aligned with my brand vision." She kept talking, but I wasn't listening. I walked over to the big screen TV we had mounted on the wall and plugged in my laptop. I picked up the karaoke microphone we'd rented for the party. "Excuse me, honey," I said, my voice calm and clear through the speakers. The whole room turned to look at me. Chloe stopped mid-sentence, looking annoyed. "That was a beautiful presentation. Really, it's so important to be honest about what you want. And in that spirit, I have a little something I'd like to share, too." I clicked the first slide. A giant, detailed spreadsheet filled the 70-inch screen. "This," I announced, "is a summary of our household finances for the past year. On the left, you'll see my income, $185,000. On the right, you'll see Chloe's, $0. And this little red number at the bottom? That's the $12,000 in credit card debt she's accumulated on business expenses." A collective gasp went through the room. Chloe's face went from smug to pale. Click. Next slide. A pie chart. This is a breakdown of that debt. As you can see, 35% is for designer clothes and accessories, like the $8,000 investment handbag. 25% is for brunches and dinners with her influencer friends. And my favorite slice, this little 10% here, that's for a service called Instagram follower growth. Fascinating. Chloe was trying to hiss my name, but I ignored her. Her mother, Brenda, was starting to march towards me, but my best friend put a firm hand on her shoulder. Click. Next slide. Now let's talk about labor. Chloe often talks about how exhausting her job is. So, I did a little data analysis. The screen now showed a timeline of the last month. It was a graph showing motion sensor activity in my office versus the rest of the house. My bar showed a solid 10 hours of activity every weekday. Hers showed sporadic movement, mostly between the couch and the fridge. But data can be misleading, I continued. So let's look at some video. I played a time-lapse video compiled from our security cameras. It showed me, day after day, coming out of my office at 6 p.m. and proceeding to cook, clean the kitchen, take out the trash, and do laundry, often working until 10 or 11 p.m. It then showed Chloe's day, waking up late, taking selfies, and lounging on the sofa. The room was dead silent. My boss was staring at the screen with his jaw on the floor. "But this," I said, my voice dropping, "is the part that I think really speaks to our creative differences." Click. The last slide. It was just a black screen with an audio player icon. This is an audio file from our doorbell camera recorded last week. Let's have a listen. I pressed play. Chloe's voice filled the room, clear as a bell. Asterisk. "I swear, he's such a wet blanket. I had to move his stupid little toy boat, and it broke. Whatever. It gave me more room for my shoot. He'll get over it." Asterisk. Her friend's laughter echoed. "You have him so well trained," the friend said. And then Chloe's voice again, the final blow. Asterisk. "He's my workhorse. He'll pay for everything as long as I keep him thinking he has a happy little wife at home. Once my brand takes off, I'm getting the real thing." Asterisk. The audio ended. The silence that followed was absolute. It was heavy, suffocating. I looked at Chloe. Her face was a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. She looked like a ghost. Brenda looked like she was going to faint. I turned to face Chloe fully, my voice steady and devoid of all emotion. "So, Chloe, since you've got your 5-year plan all mapped out, I've decided to help you get a head start on it. Effective immediately." I took a deep breath. "You have 30 days to move your things out of my house. The divorce papers will be served to you on Monday morning. Consider this my contribution to your vision board." I set the microphone down on the table. Mic drop. The aftermath was exactly as chaotic as you'd imagine. The party evaporated in under 5 minutes. People scrambled for the door, not wanting to be caught in the fallout. Chloe crumpled into a sobbing heap on the floor. Brenda started screaming at me, calling me a monster, a sociopath. My 2 best friends, bless their souls, stepped in and calmly but firmly escorted Brenda and the hysterical Chloe out of my house. The divorce was surprisingly swift. Faced with the mountain of financial evidence and the audio recording, her lawyer told her to take the first deal I offered, which was next to nothing. She tried to launch a smear campaign against me online, but too many people had been at the party. The story of the vision board and my PowerPoint rebuttal went semi-viral in our local community, and she became a laughingstock. It's been 6 months now. I sold the house. Too many bad memories. I live in a cool downtown apartment with a great view. My life is quiet. It's peaceful. The only lists in my house are my own, for groceries. I bought a new, even more complex model of the USS Constitution, and it sits proudly on its own dedicated table, undisturbed. As for Chloe, I hear she's living back home with her mom. Her influencer career never really took off. Last I saw, she was trying to sell some generic weight loss tea on her Instagram, which now has about half the followers it used to. I guess manifesting just wasn't enough.